Hey everyone, it's Zara, and I am back for the last month, December, in my reading planner for 2023, and I'm really excited. I feel like this has been a great year for reading, and this is my first year doing a reading planner or reading journal, and I really enjoyed it. I thought that it was really helpful. I enjoyed filling it out at the end, so I'll also do a video about my 2024 reading journal setup as well. So going to the front, I filled out when I was reading the different books and how they kind of overlapped. I didn't read as many books in the month of December just because it was busy. We had family visiting us for the holidays, but yeah, I still managed to finish 7 books, which was great. And then flipping to my monthly overview, I read 7 books this month. My favorite was The X, and I read 2,292 pages. Then moving into my calendar, I also have when I started and finished books, and I had quite a few days where I finished one book and then I started another, and then near the end of the month, I had more overlapping because I was trying to finish some books before the end of the year, and so I have a couple that I started and never finished just because they could wait till January. Then I have my trackers. As you can tell, I moved away from audiobooks a lot this month. I'm gonna have more audiobooks coming again in January, but for December, we finished up an audiobook, and then I started an audiobook, but I haven't finished it. But the rest of the books I read were either physical books or Kindle books, which is probably my most concentrated Kindle book month that I've had in a long time. But like I said, I'm not driving as much for work, and so I'm trying to focus more on physical books when I'm checking them out, or Kindle books when I'm checking them out from the library. But I read nearly every day. This was the list of books that I wanted to read or that I read in the month. Some of them I didn't finish, but that's okay. I had a couple of goals. I wanted to finish my A to Z reading challenge. I also wanted to finish a duology, which was in a couple of reading challenges that I was doing this year. So I did pretty well there. And then I ended up reading a lot of holiday books, so I put that as a goal as well. I feel like there's certain books, especially for December or for Christmas, that I don't really want to read a Christmas book in July, so it makes sense to kind of concentrate them in the month of December. Whereas mystery, horror, spooky books, I feel like I could read kind of any time of the year, not necessarily, just for the month of October. I feel like Christmas books are really meant for December. And then I did do my December bingo for the Shelfie Chronicles. I got one. I probably could have arranged it differently and gotten more bingos, but I got a solid 1 in there, which was good. And then I didn't use my note pages at all this month. So then moving into my book overviews, I have my finished Goodreads tracker. This one again is from the Shelfie Chronicles, and I used this one to track what books I was finishing and then whether they were audiobooks, physical books, or Kindle books. So I have those in here. I just read the 7, so like I said, it was mostly books. And you can see I read a lot more audiobooks the rest of the year. And then my final total for books was 111, which is very odd because my Goodreads says I read 112. I went through Goodreads and I tried to figure it out. I don't really know where it's getting the extra book, but according to my book journal, I read 111. I even counted up the images on Goodreads, and I had 111 books. So I don't know why it thinks I read 112, but 111 was my total. And as you can see here, these are all of the books that I read, or my stats. So I never read less than 7 books in a month, which was really good. But it's funny because January and December ended up being my lowest months, probably because they were really busy months. January we traveled a lot, and December we had a lot of family over, but still really good for the year. Then moving into my individual reviews. The first one I had was The X. This one was my favorite book for the month. This was a mystery, and you have Jack, and he's this single father whose wife died in a mass shooting. I can't remember how many years before, and he ends up near the scene of another shooting, and one of the people that dies is the father of the gunman that killed his wife, you know, in the mass shooting years before. And so he's immediately, you know, up as a subject, he's immediately chosen or selected as a person of interest. And he has this really weird alibi, and I don't know, his story is just very odd. He's talking about kind of like a chance meeting of a woman when he was jogging, and then they were going to meet up at this waterfront, and she never showed up. And it's just a very weird story with a lot of details, and the police don't believe that he's innocent. So his daughter, who's in high school, ends up calling a lawyer, and it happens to be his ex-girlfriend. And she said, you know, basically, you owe it to my dad to, you know, kind of help him out. And I don't know, I really liked this one. I thought, we listened to it as an audiobook, my husband and I. I thought the audiobook was really well done. I liked the pacing of the story. I liked the twists at the end. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything too bad to say about it. I enjoyed it a lot. Then I have A Night Without Armor. This one is a poetry book, and I'm not a poetry person. I don't know. My head doesn't quite wrap itself around poetry. I don't always understand poetry, and reading poetry kind of makes me feel a little bit dumb. And so I read this one because I had a prompt that I wanted to finish that was specifically poetry, and I have this one on my shelf because I think my sister was getting rid of some books, and I took, you know, this was one of the books that I took a couple of years ago. So, you know, there were some poems that I thought were really nice, and there's other ones that I just didn't understand, or, you know, why would someone write a poem about it? So for me, I don't know if 3 stars is a good or a bad depiction, because poetry is not my genre, but I gave it 3 stars because I didn't love it. I didn't really hate it. I didn't really understand it. And so 3 just seemed like a middle of the road number. Maybe if I was more well versed in poetry, you know, it would get a different rating. Also, too, I feel like if you're comparing this to, you know, the great poets, probably 3 stars is too high, but I don't know. 3 stars is what I gave it. Then we have a book I hated. This was Deadly Silence. I read it again because I was trying to finish up some prompts, and I had one more prompt for the buzzword challenge, and it was something to do with sounds. So I did silence as my word. And this one just had too much going on. It was the one good thing it had going for it is one of the characters was named Zara, so loved that. But it started off, or like the description of the book was that you have this private investigator, and one of his cases, someone dies, like one of his clients or you know, dies, and he, I don't know, is supposed to be investigating this like serial killer murder. So it sounded really interesting from the start, or from the description. That part is not even really in the book. It's referenced briefly here and there, but that like the focus is all of these other things, and there's just too many things going on and too many plots that didn't get finished that they want you to keep reading other books in the series, which I think I'm finding that I don't love that. Because even like you have a series like Harry Potter, the main plot of the book gets completed in the book. And then, yeah, there's a continuation plot that goes throughout, but, you know, each book has its own I don't know, basis. And this one just felt like they were trying to have like 5 different stories and you finished like 2 or maybe even 1. I mean, there were so many things that were left unfinished, and then there got to be some like kind of superpower, weird genetic stuff in there that just wasn't in the description. It sounded like it would be a very straightforward thriller, mystery, private detective kind of story, and then it was just really out there story, and there was romance that there was too much going on in the book. It couldn't decide what it wanted to do. And I finished the book, and it's one of those books that is like, I'm just almost mad that I wasted my time reading it. It just was not my favorite. I had to like try to describe it to my husband because I needed to talk to someone about this book. And I told him, you'll never read it because it's not good. But yeah, I originally gave it 2, and then I just kept talking about it, and I was like, I hate this book so much. I think I'm giving it a 1. So really didn't like it, other than the main character's name. But yeah, there was too much going on in the book, and it just, like I said, and then I couldn't pick a genre because there's too much going on. Then I have A Venom Dark and Sweet. This one is the 2nd book in the duology of, what was the other book called? A Magic Steeped in Poison. So I won't go too much into it because I always feel like, I don't know, when it's a later book in the series, I don't want to give too much away. But this one was a lot darker than the other one. So A Magic Steeped in Poison, you had this tea competition, and they're essentially trying to find the next tea maker for the palace, or for the king, emperor. And yeah, and so then this book, it's a lot darker. There's kind of power grabs and a fight for the throne, and there's a lot of ancient magic that kind of comes into play, and yeah, it's just darker. It's darker. I had trouble. I did the first book as an audiobook, and I really struggled to kind of follow it. And then this book I decided to read, because I own the book, I decided to read it as just the book instead of the audiobook. I did think that helped with my understanding of everything, but there's just so many characters and so many places and, just different words in the universe that are harder to follow, I guess. I don't know how to quite describe it, but it was still a lot, even as the book, to just kind of keep everything straight. But I like I said, I gave it 3 stars. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I thought it was fine, but it just wasn't my favorite series or duology. I guess I've never read a duology before, so it probably is my least and my favorite duology, if you're putting it that way. But I wanted to finish it because it was something that I had prompts for in as part of my reading challenges. So I did finish it because of that, but overall I thought it was just okay. Then we have The Kingdom of Sweets. This was my book of the month for December, and it was a retelling of the Nutcracker. And I can't say that I really know the story of the Nutcracker front to back. I know parts of it, or things that come up, but I haven't seen the Nutcracker in a long time, or movies or plays or anything like that, or I guess ballet, in a long time. So it was a little bit I guess from what I remember, it differentiated a lot from the main Nutcracker story. Because I believe in the main Nutcracker story, you just have Clara, and she has a brother, and there's Nutcracker. Well, in this story, there's twins. So you have Clara and then her twin sister, Natasha. And as babies, they are essentially cursed by their godfather, Dosselmeyer, or I can't remember what his name is now, but by their godfather. And so Clara gets like lightness and goodness, and then Natasha gets dark. So they're the light and dark twins, and essentially Natasha is kind of she lives in her sister's shadow, and people kind of forget about her. People don't particularly like her. She can kind of see all of the bad things, you know, almost like a warrior. You know, she can, I don't know, predict or like see the negative outcomes, whereas Clara just only sees goodness and kind of like the bright, shiny things. And so you do have them taken to the Kingdom of Sweets, which is where the Sugar Plum Fairy is and all of the magic is. But I think that's about where it stops in similarity. It gets very dark. And I won't go too much further into it because I don't want to spoil anything, but it gets a lot darker. And I did enjoy it a lot. I gave it 4 stars, but it was not the book that I thought I was going to read. In some ways, it was a lot darker than I thought it would be. But yeah, I like I said, and it was a good month of December read. It's not a book that I probably would read other times of the year because there's so much Christmas focus in the book. And really the next 3 books, or you know, this and the next 2 are all Christmas books as well. So then we have Wreck the Halls. This one was a romance, and you have Melody and Beat. They are the children of 2 rock stars, respectively. And before they were born, the moms in this band broke up the band, and then, you know, they haven't seen each other or had a reunion or anything like that in 30 years. But one of their songs, because of social media or something of the effect, is really popular right now. So there's a huge push for them to get the band back together. And so Melody and Beat are doing this reality show to essentially get their moms back together for a Christmas Eve concert, and they'll make a bunch of money doing it. And it was a little outlandish, like some of the things, you know, you just kind of had to buy into the story. But I was so ready to buy into the story because I think everything I'd read was either kind of meh or dark, and so this was like light and festive and fun. And so I know some people gave it a really negative review. I gave it 5 stars, and I think it was just the right book at the right time, and I could put myself into the mindset of, you know, just kind of believing in the magic of some of the outlandish plot lines. So overall, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I don't know that every time of the year that I read this, or every, you know, if I were to reread it, if I would give it 5 stars all the time. But like I said, it was just kind of the right book at the right time, and I really enjoyed it. Then we have Christmas Angel, which was my last book. I had 1 prompt left to complete one of the challenges I really wanted to complete this year, and it was a Regency book. Originally, I thought the Kingdom of Sweets might fit that, but it took place late 1800s, early 1900s, and the Regency era is like the beginning 1800s, 1810, right in there. So I just searched for a book of Regency romances. This series came up, and it's the 3rd book in the series, but because it was Christmassy, I decided to pick that over one of the other books in the series. And I really liked it. You know, it was a Regency romance. Like I said, you have Leander and Judith. Judith is a widow with 2 children. She was married to a poet, and he left her, you know, destitute when he unfortunately died unexpectedly. And Leander is this earl, I believe, and he essentially wants to marry someone, but he doesn't want someone that's just like fawning all over him, because he had this weird parent relationship where the mom was really in love with the dad, and the dad just couldn't care less about her. So he kind of doesn't want a repeat of that, someone that's like totally like just fawning over him. He wants someone that's just a very practical marriage, doesn't have to have love, doesn't have to have all of the romance, but just you know, marriage of convenience. And so he hears about this widow who is down on her luck, and essentially says, you know, marry me, I'll give you money, I'll give you whatever you want, and you know, you just don't really have to expect too much from the marriage. You know, and we'll call it a day. We'll be friends, you know, and you'll be very comfortable. I'll take care of your kids, etc. So of course, you know where it's gonna lead. They're gonna fall in love. It's great. So predictable, very predictable, but it was good. They had a couple of different plot lines that, again, I wasn't expecting in this particular book. There was a little bit of like I don't know, like a nefarious plot in the background that kind of came up a couple of times. And yeah, like I said, just wasn't expecting that. Enjoyed it. Haven't read a, you know, kind of period romance for a long time, and it just hit the spot. Again, right book, right time, in the holiday season. It didn't have a ton of holiday references, like they decorated for the holidays. They were giving, you know, the poor holiday goodies and things like that. But this one was maybe a little bit less holiday focused than the other two, but still enjoyed it. And that was my final book for 2023. So now I'm just going to flip through my challenges and kind of tell you where I'm at with the challenges. I only finished, I think, 2 or 3 in total completion, but some of the prompts that were left over. So this was around the year in 52 books. Some of the ones I didn't finish, a book by an author from continental Europe, a book that has been translated from another language, a Western. So I think like a classic would have been pretty good for this. Continental Europe, I just found a lot of authors from like the UK or the United States or Canada. So that was just one that never came up. Westerns, I guess if I'm thinking of like a Western, like a John Wayne Western, I don't know that I've ever read one of those, but if I'm thinking of like the Oregon Trail, I probably could have found, you know, kind of like a pioneer Western, but again, just didn't come up this year. But otherwise, I did all of the other prompts for that one. Then I have the 52 book club. I have published posthumously, and this is one that I had The Answer Is, which is the Alex Trebek memoir, I guess, and that one was published after his death. And so again, it was just kind of choosing where to put, like, this book would have fit multiple prompts. It was also published by Macmillan, I believed, but it was a book that I've been meaning to read for like years, literally since I first got it for Christmas. And then it's been, I think, like 2 or 3 years. Gosh, it's been a while. So so it fit this prompt the best in terms of books that I absolutely have been meaning to read for years, but it could have fit on other prompts. I just thought it fit best here. And I didn't read any other books that fit the prompt. Then we again have a Caribbean author, just not one that came up. Nordic noir, very specific genre that just didn't come up. Newbery Medal winner. I didn't read many children's books, which I believe that's the Newbery Medal. Then we have the 2023 Pop Sugar Challenge, a book published the year you were born. Again, just didn't come up. I read a lot of books that were within the last couple of years, maybe 10 years. This year, I'd say were the majority of the books that I read. A book you bought secondhand. Again, just not something that came up. A book written during NaNoWriMo, which is showing up again, I believe, in the Pop Sugar 2024 challenge. So I'll have to figure that one out eventually. And then a book based on a popular movie, which that one was kind of a confusing prompt to me because I feel like most movies are like based on books. I don't know of many books that are based on movies. So again, just never came up. A book that started off as fan fiction. I did find a list of books, but I just never got around to it. And then the longest book on your TBR list. It's one of the Outlander books, and again, it just didn't come up. I had it in my pile to read in December, and then December just got really busy. Then I have an anthology for the Barnes & Noble Challenge, an anthology set in the 1700s with adventure in the title, set in India, just never came up. Intimidates you? I don't know. I feel like I don't have many books that intimidate me, except for maybe really long books. Like if I were to read the Outlander book, in here, that one probably would have fit, but for the most part, I don't know, I guess length is probably the only thing that intimidates me. A Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. I don't buy many books at Barnes & Noble necessarily, so that just didn't come up. A picture book and a graphic novel featuring pirates and then an Indigenous author. So it's just some more, I guess, unique prompts that I didn't finish. I did finish the 2023 Buzzword Challenge. I will say I loved this challenge because it was one book a month. It was very manageable, but there were some times when I got to the end of the month and I'm like, I just need to get a book read. And so I had to pick something that was just available now at my library. It wasn't necessarily like the top rated book that could have fit the prompt because those had waiting lists or things like that, or I wouldn't be able to get it in the month time frame. So I would say probably like half of these. Well, let me think. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, I'd say like 5 of them were books that I really enjoyed, and the rest were ones that kind of ended up in like the meh to I hated it books, like Deadly Silence. I hated Heart and Soul. So I don't know, it's kind of one of those things where I enjoy completing the challenges or trying to complete the challenges, but sometimes I feel like I end up reading a book just to read a book and then I don't enjoy it. So that's something that I'll talk about it more in my 2024 reading journal, but I'm doing less challenges in 2024 because of that, or ones that lead, I don't know, lend to a little more flexibility or something like that, or I just won't put as much pressure on myself to finish it. With this one, I felt like there was a lot of pressure for me to finish it because there was only one prompt a month. Like, it just felt like I was, you know, not a completionist or not doing my job if I didn't finish it all. Whereas these ones where there were a lot of ones and it was weird, I just, you know, it felt like a long shot that I would finish it anyways. So then I completed a reading challenge in 2023. This one was from the Shelfie Chronicles, and essentially just an easy reading challenge so that you could at least say you finished one, because again, you know, there's so many reading challenges out there, and if you try to complete them all, it's almost impossible. So I finished all of these. This one I had to use the same book for 2 of them because the last book I bought or borrowed and the last book I read were the same. I borrowed it from my library and it was the last book I read in 2023. Then I have to read the screen. I'll probably just pop this out and put it in my next planner. These are just books that I've read that I want to watch the movie on, and it's not every book that has a movie that goes in here. It's just kind of ones that I like. So I reread the Hunger Games series, so that was in here. I still want to watch Red, White, and Royal Blue. I'm rereading the Harry Potter series right now, so yeah, essentially these are just gonna kind of come with me because this one's I guess never ending or not a time limit challenge. And honestly, I'm just gonna pop that out now so I don't forget it. That's one of the things I like about the Happy Planner journals, is that things can move around very easily. So this is a one that I struggled with a lot, and I won't go through every prompt I didn't finish. So it was the Read Your Shelf challenge, which I think is just the Shelfie Chronicles. It's one of her, she's the one that makes these stickers, but I believe it's her specific challenge. And I have 2 years of it. This was the 2023, and this muted color is the 2024 or 2022 challenge that I bought and then just never did. And I had a hard time with this one because there were a lot of books that I could have used for these prompts. Like, I'm pretty sure I read a book set in the 80s. I'm pretty sure I read a book about books. But the problem is that since it was Read Your Shelf, I felt like it should have been a book that I owned. And I read a lot of books from the library this year, and I do that every year. So for me, I struggled with it because I didn't know, do I just put a book down that fits the prompt, or should I do a book that is specifically from my shelf, which is, you know, what the name would imply. So for me, I just really struggled with this, and honestly, I just didn't fill too much out because I just didn't know how to complete it. And yeah, this one was just one that I struggled with personally. So then I have Read the States. One thing I found, I mean, there's a lot of states I didn't get, so I won't go through them all, but there's a lot of books set in New York and California. I think those were like the 2 states that I had the most. I had a number of Illinois. I actually had a number of Alaska ones. So for me, I don't know, in 2024, I'm going to do Read the States again, but I might kind of keep a tally somewhere, like do one book, and then I might just keep a tally for how many other books are also set in that state, because I do think that that would be interesting to see, you know, kind of the concentration of what books are where. Because like I said, there were multiple books that I could have used for prompts, or like multiple states that came up in my books multiple times, but yeah, I didn't finish all 50 states, but you know, could have gotten a little bit of a different tracking, I guess. Then we have the Pop Sugar 2022. These are some challenges that I bought last year, and then I did, you know, kind of halfway through the year, 2022, I bought them halfway through the year, and then never did them, and so then when I was starting this journal, I just popped them in here, because I had them. Again, this one I didn't finish too many on. I don't know, it had a lot of weird prompts. So a book with a tiger on the cover, a sapphic book, a book with an onomatopoeia, an Ainsfield Wolf Book Award winner, which again, some of these book awards, you know, I tried to look up books and then just nothing that I really wanted to read was in there. A book by a Pacific Island author, a book becoming a TV show or movie in 2022, a book with a character on the ACE spectrum, a Hugo Award winner, a book with the name of a board game in its title. Like, it's just a very off-the-wall prompt, or a very specific prompt. A book with a quote from your favorite author on the cover or Amazon page. Well, my favorite author is Agatha Christie, so like, you know, she's not writing reviews from the grave, and I don't know that any of her, I mean, I think it'd have to be a pretty old book if authors even did put reviews for other books, but I feel like that's more recent. A book with a constellation on the cover or in the title, just very specific, like stars I had on a book cover, but a specific constellation, no. A book about gender identity, a book with a palindromic title. That wouldn't be hard anyways. It'd have to be a short, I feel like it'd have to be a short book. And then books set in twin towns or sister cities. Like, I even had a list of like different sister cities, like New York and you know, but then it's like you had to read a book in Athens, and I had a book that was set in Greece, but it wasn't Athens, or I had a book that was set in St. Petersburg, Russia, but not Moscow. And so it was just, that was really hard, and that was just, yeah, I never finished that. I guess I could always put one book in there and just be like, I never read The Sister City, but yeah, that one was a hard one. Then I have Around the Year in 52 books. Again, this one was from 2022. A book related to Earth Day. I think I could have put a book in there, but I used that book for a different prompt. A book from NPR's Book Concierge, just never looked that up. A book that won an award from Powell's list of book awards. Again, just a weird award that I just didn't go for. Then we have 52 books in 52 weeks. Again, from 2022, specifically. Jane Austen inspired, published by Simon & Schuster, technology themed. I wrote something in and then I used it for a different prompt. A book that intimidates you, recommended by a favorite author. Again, I don't know. I'd have to do some real research to find what Agatha Christie recommends. Then I have an anthology. So yeah, I mean, those were some of my challenges. You know, I think I did a good job, but there were just some prompts that were just so weird that I just wasn't gonna make it out of there without really pushing myself into, yeah, a different book or a different category or books I'd never heard of before or whatnot. I did complete my A to Z reading challenge, which I was really proud of. The last book I read was The X, which I figured, even though it didn't specifically start with X, the sound is X, and yeah, it counted. It's my reading planner. So really proud of that. Definitely will be doing that one again. Then I have the Thriller Challenge. This one was from Peanut Butter Taco, and I had another sheet of this sticker challenge, so I'll repeat it. The two I didn't finish was Trouble in Paradise and Inheritance. Then I had also from Peanut Butter Taco, I have the Romance Challenge. The only two I didn't finish was Best Friend Sibling and Heart on Cover. I don't remember if I have another set of this in my next planner. Then I have Read the Rainbow Challenge, which I did complete. I kind of fudged it on the last couple. Christmas Angel, it has different variations of covers, and the one that showed up on Goodreads had a very maroon colored or wine colored cover. And then Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, it's like a tan, but tan is still a shade of brown, and there wasn't a different variation that was tan. So really enjoyed doing that. I would do the Rainbow Challenge again, but I'm on a no buy for stickers, and so I didn't buy. I don't think I have a Rainbow Challenge in my next year's planner. And then the one that I really wanted to finish, this is the Harry Potter and the Order of the Planners Flourish and Blots book club or something like that. It's like a planner reading group, and they always do a Harry Potter challenge every year, and every year I buy the stickers, and then I'm always afraid to use the stickers. And so this year I was actually going to use the stickers. I was actually going to complete the prompts, and so I really wanted to finish this one specifically. And I did buy this version, or the 2024 challenge, that's from the same group as well. These stickers were made by the Sticker Party, and yes, I finished all of these. This is where I had the poetry book I needed to read, and the Regency book, and the duology. So those were some of the books that I finished in December specifically to finish this challenge. But I thought for the most part, this one wasn't a stretch. Like, the prompts were not super difficult or specific, if that makes sense. Yeah, I'm not usually a poetry reader, but it's not like poetry set in the 1800s by a Pacific Islander author, or, something like that, which I felt like some of the other challenges had too many specific prompts like that. So I did finish it. I finished my last book on December 31st, 2023. So I am the Quidditch Cup champion for that one. Then I had these were just a couple of challenges I bought from, who did I buy them from? Creating & Co. I feel like that doesn't sound right, but I can't remember. So the only thing I don't like about some of these challenges is I like to kind of know what I'm reading for the whole year. And there's a lot of shops that'll do like readathons. So this was a readathon that she did, which is why I bought these stickers. And well, I guess she had different stickers that are for a readathon specifically. And then she has a spring challenge, and then she has a yearly challenge. And I like all of the challenges, but my problem is that I like to kind of get everything set up to begin with. And yeah, it just kind of adds up when you have releases throughout the year, I guess. And then also too, you have to pay attention to know when readathons are going to start or not. So I do enjoy her readathons. I do enjoy her reading challenges, but yeah, they're just a little bit harder to follow and keep track of because she does them kind of spaced throughout the year. So this one was the spring challenge, which I did finish. And then I have the yearly challenge, which was the reading royalty. I had everything except for a crown on the cover. And I, again, just never read a lot. I don't read a lot of fantasy, but even some of the books that I thought would have a crown on the cover didn't. So yeah, it just didn't happen. I did finish the Retro Reads readathon, which was sometime in the spring, or maybe, yeah, I don't remember when that was. I want to say like April maybe, but I think she does a readathon about every quarter. Then I had the Shelfie Chronicles. This was her Sweatpants and Spice Bingo. I intended to read a lot more romance books this year, and I just didn't. Romance isn't a huge category for me to read. I enjoy romance, but I just like a lot of variety. I don't specifically read romance, which I feel like this challenge suits someone better that just reads romance, because how she does it is you have all of these different prompts, and then each week she pulls a different prompt. And then, if you've read that book, like this one, Small Town Romance. She pulled that prompt on 1/7. I had it so I could mark it on my bingo sheet, but then, you know, she pulled this prompt, recommended in the Shelfie Chronicles group, and I didn't read it. And so, you know, didn't get to put my bingo dauber. And so unless you're reading about 30 romance books in these specific categories, I feel like it just doesn't work super well. I did like it in 2022. She did a like a thriller mystery one, which I was very, you know, excited for, or doing that one. She didn't bring it back in 2023, and she didn't bring it back in 2024. So I won't do, she has Sweatpants and Spice, and then she also has like a even steamier romance one for 2024, but I just don't think I'll do it because it just wasn't something, like, I got behind and people were already calling bingos, and then it was just, I kind of forgot about it, to be perfectly honest, or just didn't focus on it. So those were all of my challenges for this year. I really hope that you enjoyed following along throughout my 2023 reading journal progress. I had a really good time putting this together. I had a good time filming these videos, and I will look forward to doing it again in 2024. And I hope you have a great day, and I'll just see you in my next video. Bye now.